Hey, Doug.
Hello.
Joe, it's Pete Lang. We've got you up here at the dais and just having to test you. You can hear everybody just fine, is that correct?
Yeah, I can hear you good.
All right.
Did everybody hear Joe?
Yeah, I can hear you there.
Okay.
Super, all right.
All right.
So we're in line.
We're going to call the, you ready to go? Yes. We're going to call the meeting of the Tabernacle Township Committee to order. Please join me in saluting the flag, wherever it is. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We have the sunshine notice. This meeting is called pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Law. This meeting of December the 29th, 2016 was included in the list of notices sent to Essential Record, Burlington County Times, and Courier Post. Also on the bulletin board at Town Hall. It has remained increased and posted as required notices under the statute. In addition, a copy of this notice is and has been available to the public and is on file in the office of the municipal clerk. We have roll call. Ms. Brown, Mr. Franzen, Mr. Lee,
Yes.
Mr. Yates,
Yes.
and Mr. Barton.
Yes.
Thank you.
At this time, we're going to ask for comments on agenda items only. If you're interested in being heard this evening, please raise your hand. Come to the front of the room. Do we have a microphone up front to pick up? That one there?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I also want to point out that there is a public hearing on the Resolution 2016-129, the award for a contract for a tractor mower and tractor combination. But there will be a specific public hearing on that. So please, if you have comments on the agenda items, please refrain from that particular agenda item because we are going to have a public hearing on it. At this time, we'll open the meeting to the public. Mr. Brooks.
Thank you. I looked at my notes, so I didn't see which might be one of the...
That one right
Picking
there.
up, it's very sensitive. You
Yeah.
be fine.
Okay, I have questions on the bill list.
If you could tell us who you are.
Yeah, thank you, Stuart Brooks.
Thanks.
I have questions on the bill list. First on CRE 10, Creative Products. So two-part question. First is, what does the code CRE 10 stand for? I gather that CRE is the first three letters of creative. That seems to be consistent throughout all the listings. But what is that code? How does it work?
It's just a numbering system we use to identify the vendor, usually using the first three letters of the beginning of their name and then assigning a number based on what we have around it.
I didn't understand the number of what you have around it.
What other CRE ones we have? We usually start with 50, and based on what the rest of it is, we go up or down by the number 10.
Okay. On this particular bill, what were it was for decals. What was the content of the decals? What did they say, and what were they used for? How many did we get?
I'm going to have to see.
Creative product source.
We can go through that after the meeting is over if you want to. Is there anything specific you want to ask about it while he's pulling that up?
Well, that was the specifics.
Well,
I
it
can
could
move
take
on
a few
to
minutes.
others.
It could take a few minutes. That's
Let me
fine.
move on to others, and maybe we can circle back to that.
Sounds good.
The next one, I'll skip to LAN 25, Mr. Lang. That's your invoice. What months does that cover?
Covers a number of months. I believe it's October, November, December.
Colonel Lodge, did you have your hand raised?
Second?
Did you have your hand raised?
I was going to explain to you what those decals are.
That'd be great.
Okay.
Actually, Pete, it's August, September, October.
For the record, Colonel Lowe is going to answer Stuart's question.
The identification decals, they're about that big. I didn't bring any with me, but they say Community Emergency Response Team, Pinelands Community Emergency Response Team. And they have the logo, so they put them on their helmets, they put on their uniforms, they put them on their cars, that kind of thing, so we can identify the certain members. It's a giveaway for certain members. I bought it with the FEMA money that I was given to support the volunteer effort.
Okay, thank you.
Colonel.
Jumping back, Mr. Yates clarified the term of Pete's invoice, and I didn't hear it. I have 1 year on Colonel.
It's the month of August, September, October, and November.
Okay, thank you for that. HEC 50 hect trailers, 9,655 for an enclosed trailer. What is that? What was it used for? Who's using it?
Public Works, it's a replacement of our existing trailer to haul the mowers back and forth.
Okay, thank you. So it's a trailer. It's just what it says.
Just what it is.
Okay.
Joe, can you hear Stuart okay?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Okay. Next one, LIN 60 line systems, phone service for November, $1,135.99. What is, obviously it's for phone service of some kind, but phone service to what buildings, what?
All of those.
That's the township's
That's
phone
the,
provider?
that's the discount provider that replaces Verizon.
Okay, thank you. Any services, it services all buildings? All buildings that are receive phone service?
I believe so, yes. The 3 buildings here, emergency management's lines, I believe, are on there.
Okay.
And the community center line is on there.
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks. Any other comments from the public this time? Yes, sir.
Yes. I have a couple questions. I don't know if this is a time for them, because I'm not used to your
That's okay. Is it?
agenda situation.
That's okay. What's the topic?
My topic
Yep.
is cable TV.
Okay. I'll tell you what we can do. There's a period during the meeting where I'll call on you first during the regular public comment.
Oh, okay, that's what okay.
No problem at all. No problem at all. Mrs. Brooks, you have your hand up?
Yes, I did, thank you.
Come on down.
Stand over here, Fran Brooks, Morris Meadow Road.
If you could stand up towards the front where the microphone is, that'd be great.
Fran Brooks, Morris Meadow Road. Regarding the line system charge that Mr. Brooks asked about, is this going to be the same line system? Are the lines that are going into the snack stand going to be part of this line system, or is that going to be a different,
Not at this time.
not this time, so that'll be a different billing?
It'll be where we move on to line system right now. We've moved from a long-term contract to a month-to-month contract, so we're shopping.
Oh, okay, okay, so, but ultimately, when you're done shopping, you'll be selecting a carrier that will also include the snack stand, line going into the snack stand.
I'm not 100% sure of that at this point in time.
Okay. Because I know that there's a provision in the contract to pay for a line, cable, internet, phone line into the snack stand, so that's why I was asking about that. Okay, my other question has to do with the resolution authorizing the release of executive session minutes. The Open Public Meetings Act, let me just back up. It's not sufficient to just state attorney-client privilege, and this is for the clerk. What topic is the attorney-client privilege? Also, the pending or anticipated litigation, there's an obligation to put what type of litigation it is and a name. And there's also, when it comes to contract negotiations, there has to be a reference to with whom. So what is the topic that is the subject of attorney-client privilege? Is that going to be identified on the minutes that are released? And the type of litigation, is that going to be identified? And will the individuals who are subject to the contract, who are subject to the contract negotiations, will those be identified?
Yes, we've endeavored to do that. They will be identified, and if not, we'll be happy to amend them, but I think that we have followed that. You are correct, and I believe that we have followed those requirements.
Okay. So maybe in the future, that could be identified on the resolution. It would be similar to a motion that you would make, let's say, to go into closed session, where you would identify, you know, who's part of the who's subject to the contract negotiation, just as an example. Okay, I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Brooks. Any other comments from the public at this time? See none, we'll close the public. Need a motion to approve the bills, please.
So moved.
Mr. Barton?
Yes.
We have a first and a second. This is going to be interesting. Roll call, please.
Thank you. Mr. Barton?
Yes.
Mr. Yates?
Yes.
Mayor Lee?
Yes. Can I switch seats with you? Joe, can you hear me any better? Maybe not. Joe, can you hear me any better? What's that?
I hear you just fine.
Okay, excellent.
I had you on mute.
Okay. I'm sorry, we ought to put you on mute. I'll fix you.
I still like it.
Resolution 2016-128 authorizing the clerk's office to close out petty cash fund in the amount of $50 for 2016. Need a motion, please?
So moved.
Mr. Yates had the first motion. Mr. Barton?
Second.
Any questions or comments? Roll call?
Mr. Barton?
Yes.
Mr. Yates?
Yes.
Mayor Lee?
Yes.
Thank you.
Resolution 2016-129 authorizing the award of contract for the tractor mower. At this time, we're going to open up the public hearing for discussion on this specific resolution. If you're interested in being heard this evening, please raise your hand. I will call on you, come to the front of the room, and please limit your comments to 3 minutes on this particular resolution only. Seeing none, we'll close to the public. Any questions or comments from the committee? Roll call.
Okay.
Do you have a first and a second?
I thought we did.
Yeah. All right.
We have a first and a second yet?
No, we do not.
Need a first and a second. Sorry about that, fellas. Mr. Barton makes the motion. Mr.
Second.
Yates, second. Any questions or comments? Roll call?
Thank you. Mr. Barton?
Yes.
Mr. Yates?
Yes.
Mayor Lee?
Yes. Resolution 2016-130 authorizing the release of the executive session minutes. I need a motion, please.
So moved.
Mr. Yates has a motion. Need a second, please.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Roll call?
Mr. Barton?
Yes.
Mr. Yates?
Yes.
Mayor Lee?
Yes. Resolution 2016-131 authorizing budget transfers. These were included in your packet. Need a motion, please?
So moved.
Mr. Yates has a motion. Need a second, please? I'll second. Any questions or comments? Roll call?
Mr. Barton?
Yes.
Mr. Yates?
Yes.
Mayor Lee?
Yes.
Thank you.
Resolution 2016-132 authorizing the permanent appointment for Public Works laborer Thomas R. Montgomery. I need a motion, please.
I'll make the motion.
So moved. Second.
Mr. Barton has the motion. Second from Mr. Yates. Any questions or comments? As you may recall, we had some discussion regarding this hiring at our last meeting. Glad to bring on Mr. Montgomery full-time and look forward to a long career with Tabernacle.
You need this?
I don't need this. Roll call, please.
Mr. Barton?
Yes.
Mr. Yates?
Yes.
Mayor Lee?
Yes.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda are the 2017 RFP proposals. Mr. Barton and I have reviewed these proposals over the last several weeks. We received them back in the early part of November. Mrs. Brown was initially going to be looking at these. We had some discussion about it, but I essentially worked with Mr. Barton to put these together. We do have a memorandum that came from Mr. Barton this week. Joe, do you want to comment on this memo at all?
Why don't you just read it, Stephen, if you have it there. Basically, I was just evaluating the bids by low bidder to high bidder and was recommending the low bidder for the committee to consider.
We will be, just to be clear, our reorganization in January historically is when we do make these appointments. But in the spirit of full disclosure and public discussion, we thought it was important as a committee to have a little bit of discussion prior to the appointments. And going through these appointments for architect, township engineer, land development board engineer, site plan engineer, land development board attorney, and auditor and prosecutor, Joe has outlined these, and his recommendation is for low bidder. I will say that for all of the appointments or all of Joe's recommendations and the recommendations that we have to the full committee in January is pretty consistent with what we're doing now. I will say that the LDB attorney and the LDB engineer, those two positions are appointed by the LDB. The township committee makes the authorization, but they come with the direction from the LDB, and that will come from them. So unless we... Go ahead, Joe.
They were both low bidders. Actually, Mr. Frank was the only bidder, and he has, in his bid, agreed to accept the same fee that he has in the last several years. So there's no increase in cost. And the other was Dan Guzzi, and Dan is the low bidder for the Land Development Board, and also as a site plan engineer.
In addition to that, Dante Guzzi is also the low bidder for the township engineer. The architect is Bach Associates, is the low bidder for that. And there's a difference, actually a $10 difference between the second bidder. The second bidder is Rybread Architects. I'm not going to be voting on the architect appointment at all. I have worked with Rybread on a municipal project in Greenbank, and he also did some consulting work on one of our houses on our farm. So I'm not going to make a decision on this. I will not be part of that vote. I will, however, weigh my opinion, and my opinion is that we maintain the relationship with Rybread. One of the goals that we have as a committee this year is to look forward to working with Rybread as well as with the Buildings and Grounds Committee that was spearheaded by Committeeman Franzen to look at this building as well as others, and they've already done some preliminary work over the last 2 years on this. So my personal recommendation is to maintain the relationship with Rybread in spite of the $10 difference in the fees. So unless there's any other discussion we want to have at this time, I think we'll table this and we'll have the appointments. Go ahead.
Can I go over the rest of them?
Of course.
Yeah, the environmental consultant, I deferred that to Doug Kramer, and Doug did an evaluation of that and has determined that the low bidder is Stewart Environmental Associates. So, you know, if we should decide there would be no change there. The only other one that I asked for outside help for was for Terry to evaluate I asked Doug to evaluate the other one was the bond count. And I'd asked Terry to evaluate that with some criteria so we could see about what is the best choice there. There were only 3 bidders on that. So other than that, it looks like the low bidders are pretty much everyone we've had in the past.
Anything else, Joe?
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you for working on this. I do want to point out that in my experience and conversing with other folks from different municipalities, this is not a normal practice. Typically, these appointments are done in a different way, and they're not publicly talked about prior to the meeting, as I understand it. I think it's good to have this dialogue. I think it's good for not only for the bidders and for the folks that are submitting RFPs, but also, it's also good for the public to have an idea of what does go into this process. The folks that submit RFPs do an awful lot of work in putting together RFPs for the municipality. And I think we owe it to those individuals to review the RFPs and ensure that the pencils are sharp and we're paying attention. So I want to thank the folks that did submit RFPs, also Mr. Barton for your work in putting this together. And we'll see you in January with the appointments. Committee reports. Joe, anything?
Nothing to report, but I do want to wish the rest of the committee members, mayor, deputy mayor, and staff, and everybody in attendance a healthy, safe, and prosperous 2017.
Thank you, Joe. Mayor Yates.
I would like to extend the same thing that Mr. Barton just stated. I am looking forward to the new year and the challenges that we will again face. I'm hoping to see a couple more changes that we will discuss later, but at the present time, I wish everybody health and happiness.
Thank you as well.
Thank you, Mayor Yates. Pete?
I will report that we did hear from Atlantic City Electric. They have no need to obtain any type of municipal consent, even though the statute would ostensibly include them. They believe that the other statutes, and I concur, cover that process for them. So I'll have a report for the committee and an ordinance as soon as is possible. As far as, I could have that for reorganization, but I would recommend that we just have it for the first regular meeting in January. And that's an ordinance, or we could have considered it tonight, but it would not have been possible. Beyond that, I have nothing to report.
Thank you, Pete. Mr. Kramer?
Just like to thank yourself and the committee for your support of the tractor and support of appointing Mr. Montgomery at full time. And I'd like to take just to thank the volunteers that I have that help me with locking the gate at Crickett's Mill. I have 2 new volunteers, Gary and Diana Horn, and it's been a great help since I've been doing it, since my last group of volunteers had retired earlier this year. The Katz's, and I want to thank them for all their past help also. So, and wish all of you a happy and prosperous new year along with the audience and the rest of the staff. Thank you.
Can I ask you a question?
Sir.
We have a retirement this week?
We do have a retirement this week. Mr. Bill Dudley will retire tomorrow after 26 years here in Tabernacle. He's looking forward to his retirement, and we hope him lots of joy and the rest of his retirement.
We're going to bring him back part-time?
No, unfortunately, the state sort of limits that out a lot of time, 6 months now, and makes it tough to bring back. I believe he'd like to retire from plowing snow.
That's what I was getting at.
He told me that, actually, specifically, last Friday.
So, thanks for reminding me.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
We are going to invite Mr. Dudley to come back in January and be recognized by the committee and the residents for his 26 years of service to the community here in Tabernacle. Mr. Henry, anything?
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
Mr. Guzzi?
Just a couple quick updates. Doug and I have been working on preparing some estimates for the potential road program for next year. So I'll go over them with Doug, and we should have something to present to the committee for your consideration. Also, the NJDOT Transportation Trust Fund applications are due the beginning of February. So we're going to do apply for Oak Shade Road again this year, and what we'd like to do is have a resolution from the committee at your second meeting. I guess it will be in January, if that could be added to the agenda, just so we can complete the application on time.
Okay.
And other than that, happy, safe New Year's.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you. I've got a couple things. I want to thank the Tabernacle Rescue Squad and also the Tabernacle Fire Company #1 for not only the breakfast with Santa that was over at the firehouse, but also the Santa on the blue sleigh trip. I was a little concerned about Santa's well-being actually on Friday evening when the wind chill was down about 11 degrees. And also for the folks who are going to be out waving to Santa, but I think a lot of people probably watch from their living rooms. But I think it's nice that the two organizations do that, so I want to thank them for that commitment to the community. I also wanted to mention that I'm continuing to work on the Verizon BFRR program, specifically with Mr. Robbins over at the school. We still have quite a few residents that do not have high-speed internet service here in town. And Mr. Robbins has been working with me to go look for residents and essentially connect the dots between Verizon and this program and folks that don't have any kind of internet service. Because in this day and age, it's pretty important to have internet service, and to have school children that don't have it is pretty important. So we need to focus on that. So it's one of the things we're doing to work together to bring internet service to Tabernacle. So there will be more to come on that.
Mayor, if I could just mention, I did learn that, in fact, Verizon is extending Fios service to some of the outerlying areas in Chemung, and that's been going on over the last few months. In fact, I think Stony Creek is going to be served fairly soon, and so hopefully Verizon will find funds to do the same in Tabernacle. So I just wanted to let you know that that was happening, just in case you had not heard that.
Yep, I did know that. Verizon is mandated by the BPU to, and I've mentioned this before, but they're mandated by the BPU, and a BPU ruling from 2010, I believe it was, to provide Fios service to residents that don't have any kind of 4G connectivity or cable TV access. The sun sets on that at the end of 2017. So it's important to get the applications to Verizon within the next 30 days to get that up and rolling and get that moving. Otherwise, we're going to miss the opportunity.
Is that something Doug is following up on with you? Or?
We put the application on the website probably a year or two ago.
Yeah.
And we only got to 21 applications, and then there were some residents that
Comcast service.
got a knock on the door from Comcast, so some of those residents in different areas got Comcast. But there are areas in town, Morris Meadows is one of them, that doesn't have any kind of high-speed connectivity unless they make the investment and do themselves, the residents do. So in any event, there'll be more to come on that in January. That's all I have at this point in terms of reports. I don't, unless members of the committee and our colleagues have anything else. We're going to open up to the public. If you're interested in being heard this evening, please raise your hand. I'll call on you. Come to the center of the room. If you can state your name and address and limit your comments to 3 minutes, you are first up.
Okay, my name is Ed Grebe. I live at 1426 Route 206 Tabernacle. And I'm questioning when I will receive Comcast TV. Because I don't even have high definition you were talking about. I don't have that. We don't have that from Fios or anybody. I work on DirecTV, and DirecTV, in my experience, I've had it for a number of years, is very poor. I lose the picture. If there's a little bit of rain, we lose it. I've had technicians out, and they said it's nothing with them, it's atmospheric conditions, blah, blah, blah. So I'm asking, when the contract is up, be considerate of the people who don't have that on 206. There's quite a few of us.
Mr. Grebe, what's your address?
1426.
Route 206?
Route 206.
Okay.
South of Medford Lakes Road.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
There's about, from Medford Lakes Road to my house, there's like 7 or 8 homes, not including, I don't know, I don't include you because you're not on 206, so. Not
We don't have it either.
But
so.
you don't
Oh,
have
you don't have it either, yeah.
No.
I've been asking about this for many years, and I keep on hearing the same story from you folks, not maybe all of you people, but many of you people. Oh, next contract come up, we'll make sure you get invited to participate in the, nothing ever happens, I never hear anything. So I'm a little bit discouraged about what's going on here.
Well, I can tell you from my standpoint personally, we live in an area where I have DirecTV also. I've had DirecTV since 1999.
Oh, I've had it before that, but go ahead.
And my dad did. My dad had it probably as long as you have. As soon as it was available, we had it because that was all there was.
Yeah.
This bona fide retail request program that is done through Verizon, it was mandated by the BPU. And the only reason that Verizon's doing it is because it was mandated by BPU. This is our shot to be able to get high-speed internet to Tabernacle. Comcast is, we can have a conversation with Comcast at a table over a contract, but there's nothing that mandates them from providing cable service to Tabernacle.
Except a contract.
Well, a contract does, but the way it, and correct me if I'm wrong, but we can't tell Comcast they have to service all of Tabernacle.
It's a question of bargaining power. We can certainly look at the issues upon renewal. It's a 10-year contract, Doug. Do you know when we renew?
It's a 15-year
It's a
contract.
15-year contract.
With a 10-year rollover renewal.
And the rollover renewal is next year.
Is next year.
2017 or 18, you say?
17.
Because one of the things, if you have DirecTV, that I complain about also is besides the service, is you don't get any sports.
Right.
You don't get the baseball unless you're going to pay for a special package, and that gets very expensive. Believe me, I've tried that.
Well, actually,
And basketball and hockey.
to be honest, the problem is that with DirecTV, the way it works is you can buy a baseball package with DirecTV,
Yeah,
but you don't get the Phillies because it's blocked out by Comcast.
that's right. That's exactly right.
So if you could connect with Mr. Grebe after the meeting
Yep.
and get him a BFR application, I'd appreciate that. Anything else?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
This is something I hope you can really do. 206 and 532. If you're on 206 going north or south, you don't have a turning lane. And the amount of cars going through the red light after it's turned red, and I'm waiting there to turn on green, is unbelievable. I can't believe the state cops haven't had written more tickets. I'd like to see a turning lane on that, north and south.
On the 206.
Yes, because you got one on 532 for the buses coming out of the schools. But 206, you really, it's a hazard to drive that and try to turn on it.
Was that any consideration when they were doing the intersection? But because it's a state road, so
Not on the 206 side, no. State didn't want it at the time.
That's ridiculous.
how long ago was that?
That was from the school permits, early 2000s.
I can ask. We can ask.
I mean, really, the state should look at it and say it needs it. I mean, you people on the township here should go back to the Department of Transportation, is it?
Yeah.
And tell them we want it. Because it's a hazard. I mean, I travel the road quite a bit, and I'm sure a lot of you folks do too. And I just can't understand why the state won't foresee to put that in there. Been several accidents, and you got a tractor trailer running down on you, boy. They don't stop for anybody.
It's worse in the summertime when you've got a lot of loads go back and forth
That's
between
what I'm
Trenton and
Yeah.
Hamilton.
Short traffic.
Yeah.
It's tough to make a left-hand turn going
Yeah, it
north.
is.
Yeah, it is. Very tough.
North or south, doesn't matter. Okay. Thank you very much for your comments.
Okay.
All right. Anyone else from the public at this time? Seeing, oh, Stuart, you almost missed. Come on.
You're pretty quick on the draw today.
I am. We got efficiency.
I appreciate that efficiency.
Efficiency.
Stuart Brooks, Morris Meadow Road. I'd like to follow up on a question that came up at the bill list at the last meeting regarding the polling place fee of $120 that went to the township and went to the fire company. Did the fire company ask for that, and how was it decided that the fire company would get that money?
I think it actually comes from the county board of elections. Unless, yeah, it comes from the county board of elections where the money comes from.
To the township?
That's right.
I'm asking, how did it get from the township to the fire company? Why didn't it stay and go into the township's general fund?
Why did it stay in the township's general fund? I don't know if I have that answer.
Did the fire company ask for it?
I'm not sure if they did.
Did we offer it?
I don't know. I can find out though.
I appreciate that.
Okay.
Okay. Also regarding the fire company, I understand that Chief Smith is, I don't have the right word here, stepping down as as chief is probably my best understanding of it. Do you guys know if that is true, and is there a replacement in the offing?
That's a question you'd probably have to ask him.
If he had a report here, I'd be happy to ask him.
Yeah, I don't, to my knowledge, he's not stepping down as chief.
I've heard it from a number of people.
Okay.
I believe
sounds
that
like-
to be true, but I don't know.
Yeah, it
for
sounds like
sure.
it might be a rumor.
Not true.
Because I think if the chief were stepping down, we would know about it.
That's what I would have thought.
Yeah.
That's what I would have thought.
Yep.
The third comment, regarding the TAA resolution, I'd like to say I was struck that when that was passed last meeting, there were no comments from anyone on the committee. I mean, they're a significant organization that does significant work. There were a number of comments made. I made some. I don't think I'm patting myself on the back or something, but I think they were comments made in earnest that were directed to improving the resolution. I spoke, you listened, but there was no discussion, there was no comment, and it's episodes like this that are the unfortunate other side to when you collectively speak of openness, transparency, inviting the public to see what happens, and all those other good phrases which were exemplified by the handling of the RFPs, but regarding the TAA and frankly too many of the other major service organizations in the township, it's clear that most of the work is done outside of this room. We know that Lynn Hedden was active in modifying the contract and discussing it with, I believe, you, Mr. Lang, or others in the community, or others in the committee. That work should be done here, where we can all see it. That is open government. That is transparency. That's letting the public see what happens, see how your pencils are sharpened, as the phrase you use. When that doesn't happen, it leaves open the perception that residents either aren't being listened to, aren't getting a fair deal, things are being worked out in the back room, and that's a bad perception. It's a worse reality, and I guess most concerning of all the many comments that I raised regarding the TAA resolution was the fact that you guys took out the requirement that there be financial reporting, which it's astonishing that you would require financial reporting of TRS, fire company, and that's an essential prerequisite of management. Right? It makes no sense that for an athletic organization, which is essentially a cash business, and which are notoriously under-regulated in the subject of fraud and theft. And I'm not saying that ours is, but as a class, they are. I'm surprised you let that go.
Thank you for your comments, Mr.
And I'd
Brooks.
like to know why you let that go.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Anyone else in the public at this time? Mr. Brooks, you waving here? Okay. I thought you had your hand up, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah. Thank you. Claire Brooks, Morris Meadow Road. Actually, regarding the TFC1 payment, Doug, were you involved in that decision to give the $120 to the fire company?
I think I mentioned I was going to look into that.
No, but I mean, come on, Doug is right here, he's the administrator of this town.
I think I'm going to look into it. That's what the answer is for this evening.
Mr. Mayor, in all due respect, this is the administrator of this township. He should be able to answer the question one way or another.
Okay, just to be clear.
It's low-hanging fruit here.
Well, just
Yes.
to be clear, this is a township committee meeting. You're addressing the committee, myself, Mr. Barton, and Mr. Yates. The questions can be directed to us, and we'll answer the questions. And the answer I've already given your husband was that I'll look into it.
And will you have an answer back at the next meeting?
We'll see. I have to get an answer
Okay.
first.
I guess it's just a continuation. It's interesting to me that you would, Mr. Mayor, that you would want to conduct your RFPs or give a semblance of transparency in conducting your RFPs in a public meeting, when that really is usually done in closed session. And there's good reason to do it in closed session. And to claim that that's transparency, but yet following through with, Stuart's comments about to not even require financial reporting. I mean, it just appears so irresponsible. What kind of management is that, to not require financial reporting from an organization that is dealing with a lot of cash regularly over the year? There's barely a reasonable report. In all due respect to the Recreation Committee, the report barely provides any information. So there really isn't anything that's available to the public to ensure that monies are being handled properly. And frankly, the residents do have a huge investment in the TAA with the building of that snack stand for $300,000. They're keeping all the money. I mean, the reason I asked about the line system, Mr. Kramer, is because there's a provision in that contract that says that there'll be internet connection, there'll be a phone connection, there are keys floating all over the place. How are you going to control that? There's just no controls in that contract. And there isn't any reason to create a contract like that. There really isn't. There's no transparency, so when you talk about transparency, we would see transparency if you really, really meant it. You would have made that contract transparent, like requiring financial information, I mean the basics, and you would have had an actual discussion about it at a public meeting. You probably discussed that whole contract for 3 minutes, actually, 3 minutes. There was one comment that was made at a meeting regarding the length of the contract, and you put a 5-year term on that. But other than that, there was no other conversation about that contract. That's really unfortunate because it's just irresponsible management, basically. The other question I just want to ask is, why is it that the calendar on the website doesn't have the dates of when town hall is closed? Sometimes it does go up on the home page, but I was looking at the calendar for December, and there was no listing of when town hall is closed. So it would be impossible for anyone to know when.
So it was on the website, but it wasn't?
No, it wasn't on the website at all.
At all?
At all.
I thought you'd said it was under the...
So it was under the...
It wasn't even
homepage.
under...
You said it was under the homepage.
It wasn't even under the homepage, actually, nor was it on the calendar. That's a nice calendar and has a lot of has other information, but it didn't have anything regarding the when town hall is closed. So I'm just making a suggestion that to be careful about that and to make sure that that information goes there. I know that there was something regarding the closing of town hall for this January 2nd, but other than that, nothing for December, so it would be impossible for anyone to know when it's closing. Like, for example, are you closed tomorrow, the 30th? Because that's not on there. It's not on the website.
Looks like we're open.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I'm asking. Some places do close on the 30th, so it would be hard for anyone.
It says on the website, I just looked it up, Town Hall will be closed Monday, January 2nd, 2017.
No, I'm talking about December. There isn't a single notation on the calendar itself that says that Town Hall is closed.
Why do we care what's happening in December if December's done in 2 days?
Well, actually, if I file an open request in December and I count my 7 days, I want to be able to know that within that accounting, that what the 7th day actually is when there are vacation days.
For an open request.
For an open request.
Oh, we should say that. I don't.
No, it's
No, I
part
understand
of
the
the
basis of the
calculus,
question.
but I think that there really should be the calendar. That's the purpose of the calendar, to tell people, to give people the information. So it would be very helpful to make sure that the calendar, in all due respect, has that information. And we have a deputy clerk. I would think that she would at least take over that responsibility. I don't know who really is responsible for it, but it would be good to make sure that it was listed on the website, so we would have a good understanding, the public would have a good understanding. As for that, there's nothing else really at this point.
Okay.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Mrs. Brooks.
And have a good new year, and healthy, and be safe, everybody.
Thank you. LaShawn, do you know if that was on the front of the homepage for December?
I have no idea.
Okay, I don't know either. I know I know it's closed on Monday because it says so on the website.
That is that I referenced, yeah, that was on there, but actually, Mayor, there was no information for December. So it was unclear whether, for example, the Friday before Christmas was, the town hall was closed. And the Monday after Christmas, if town hall was closed. There was just no way of knowing that because there was no listing.
You were open Monday.
No, we were closed.
We're closed on Monday.
Yeah.
That was probably
We were
on
open-
that.
We were open Friday.
Yeah. Okay. Any other comments from the public at this time? Seeing none, we'll close the public. Anything else? Need a motion to adjourn? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Mr. Barton.
Thank you, Mayor. Good meeting, 45 minutes and 36 seconds.
Thank